Week 3 answered a question that has always been present, but rarely asked openly. Who are the covenant people? We followed the evidence. We let the scripture speak. And if you were listening, you know the answer narrowed the field considerably. But identifying the covenant people is the beginning. Understanding who the remnant is, that is the goal. Because not everyone within the covenant is the remnant. The covenant people are a specific group. The remnant is a subset within that group. That is what this week is about. This is week 4 of the Remnant Project. Let's begin. Paul wrote something that reframes everything that came before it. For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Not every descendant from the covenant is operating within it. Not everyone who carries the bloodline carries the alignment. The covenant was specific. The remnant is more specific still. God has always worked with a subset, a remnant within the remnant, a people within the people. That is not a new idea. That is a consistent pattern of Scripture. What separates the covenant descendant from the remnant member? Not failure, not sin. Every patriarch in Scripture failed. What separates them is this: departure without return. The gradual drift into the practices of surrounding nations. The slow replacement of God's commands with inherited tradition. The form of covenant without the substance of it. You can carry a name and have abandoned what that name requires. You can know the history and have no relationship with the one the history points to. That is the gap. Not bloodline, alignment. Alignment is not performance. It is not perfection. It is not a checklist completed before God will acknowledge you. Alignment is total faith, total belief, an active response to God. It is a posture, not a position you earn, but a direction you maintain. It is the quietness that comes when you stop striving in your own understanding. It is the peace that is not explained by your circumstances. The power that moves when you move in accordance with His word. That is alignment. And alignment is not passive. It produces something. Revelation 12:17 describes the remnant in precise terms. Which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. 2 markers, 1 verse. Neither is optional. Which keep the commandments of God. This is not legalism. This is evidence. A people in alignment with God will reflect God's instructions, not because they are earning anything, because alignment produces obedience the way a tree produces fruit. It is the natural result. The testimony of Jesus. This is not a statement you rehearse. It is a life that bears witness to who He is, what He did, and what He requires. Obedience without testimony is religion. Testimony without obedience is performance. The remnant walks in obedience and carries the testimony. Neither substitutes for the other. Jesus says something that required honest examination. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. 3 movements in that verse: hearing, being known, following. They are not sequential. They are simultaneous. If you hear his voice, you follow. If you follow, he knows you. If he knows you, you hear. That is an active present tense relationship, not a historical one. Not, I once heard something at an altar in 1987. The remnant hears now, responds now, follows now. The question is not whether you have heard in the past. The question is whether you are hearing today. Jesus gave the simplest test in Scripture. Wherefore by their fruit you shall know them. Not by their titles, not by their platforms, not by the size of their congregation or the precision of their theology. By their fruits. Our fruit grows from what we already are. You cannot produce figs from a thorn bush by trying hard. The remnant produces fruit consistent with alignment, consistent with love, patience, faithfulness, self-control. Not as a performance, as evidence. And fruit is observable. Fruit shows up in how you treat people when nothing's at stake, in what you do when no one is watching, in what remains of you when the pressure doesn't let up. Not by self-report, by witness. This is where the teaching has to be precise. The markers do not grant you entry into the remnant. They confirm that you are already there. There is a difference, a significant one. A credential is something you present to gain access. A confirmation is something that testifies to what already exists. You do not become the remnant by acquiring the markers. The markers appear because you are walking in alignment with the one who assembles the remnant. This is not self-appointment. This is not a declaration you make about yourself. This is fruit. This is evidence. This is what alignment looks like from the outside. God is not waiting for your resume. He is watching your walk. Paul wrote, "The Lord knoweth them that are his." That is the anchor. Not you knowing yourself. Not you making the case for your own election. Not you measuring your marker against a checklist and arriving at a verdict. God knows. The remnant has never been self-identified. It has always been God-identified. He knows the names. He knows the walk. He knows who is his. Your responsibility is not to prove it to yourself or to anyone else. Your responsibility is to walk in alignment and let God's knowledge be sufficient. Alignment produces fruit. Fruit comes from the markers. The markers reveal who is active within the covenant. And alignment does something else. It positions the believer. What that position requires, what the remnant is being positioned for, that is a separate question, one that is coming. This is not a verdict. No one listening to this video can tell you whether you are in the remnant. I cannot tell you. You cannot tell yourself. But God can. And the markers he left in the scripture are not there to condemn you. They are there to give you something to examine honestly. So examine. Are you walking in obedience? Not performance, but genuine alignment with his word. Are you hearing his voice? Not an echo of what you want to hear, but the voice that requires something of you. Is your life producing fruit consistent with the life submitted to God? These are not questions for debate. They are questions for prayer. Take them there. Examination is not the destination, alignment is. Let what you find in the examination move you toward it. If this teaching raised questions, bring them with you. We are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. The weekly newsletter is at theremnantproject.beehive.com. The Remnant is available now on Amazon. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing. We explore new ideas, new discussions every week. The Remnant Project examines the gradual replacement of truth, how it works, where it entered, and what it means to return to alignment. The link is in the description below. Yah will rise.